Hey YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. So it's that time of year again. It's SGDQ time, and so I love watching speed runs. And I started watching them, and I started thinking, man, I really can't justify spending all this time watching them unless I do something with it. So I decided I was gonna make little review videos for all the different runs. Not different videos for all the different runs, but different reviews for all the different runs. Now, a couple of things I want to say first. One, I watched 3 runs before I decided to do this, so I'm going to try to do them in order, but those first 3 runs are probably going to come at the end, because I have to go back and rewatch them. Also, I'm just doing this for fun. These ratings really don't have any sort of, like, I'm not a professional speedrunner. I don't watch these things with a critical eye. I watch them to have fun, and then here's my thoughts on them. Because it's so informal, I'm gonna do a 5-star rating system like you would get on Yelp or something, because I think that that's the most overused rating system. It's kind of a very subjective one to begin with. Now, as far as what ratings I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have 5 different categories that can have anywhere from 0 to 1 star, and everything in between, like a half a star, 3/4 of a star. You get the idea. Those categories are going to be personality, which is what I think of the runner, the host, the commentators. Are they funny? Are they hyped? Are they informative? Like, so that's the first point. Second point is going to be the tech, which is going to cover things like movement tech and the skip tech. Chopper, get down! Sorry, my cat's trying to climb up on my keyboard. Chopper, lay down. Lay down. He's a good cat, though. He actually listens to me, which most cats don't, but he's a good cat. So yeah, the movement tech, skips, the tech just goes into everything. I'm gonna say, is it appealing to watch? Is it well explained? Does the runner pull it off with any sort of consistency? And how difficult are they? And then there's the skips, which are going to follow basically the same format. Most skips involve tech to begin with, so, it's good to look at. Is it well explained? Does the runner pull it off consistently? How difficult are they? Etc., etc. The third one, no, that's the third one. The fourth one is going to be the run itself. So is it a good run to watch? Is it, entertaining? Is it accessible to somebody who's never seen a speed run before? Is the run itself here's Chopper right here. Hey, Chopper. No, he doesn't want to look. Is it accessible to new runners? Like, if you watch the run, you pick up the game, is it going to be accessible? Is it, like, an absolute must-watch for somebody who's seen a bunch of speed runs? Like, I myself have seen, like, a ton, so, And then the final one is going to be the time. It doesn't mean is it a good time or a bad time. Is it just an impressive time? Is it close to estimate? Were you biting your nails hoping that they would get estimate in time? Is it a really, really good time? So those are the 5 stars. And yeah, just going to have some fun with it. So hope you enjoy. And if I enjoy doing this, I'll go do every single GDQ run that there is. Well, every single one of them. So if I enjoy doing this. Alright. Here's the first run. Okay, so the first run I'm going to review is for the ICO run. It is a ICO any percent PlayStation 2 PAL version run. Now, as many of you probably know, 2020 SGDQ is done online because they can't have it in person because of the current problems in the world. I think you'll know what I'm talking about. So there's no face cam in this run, and that's not really an issue. But as we get into point 1, I hold some other things up to a higher standard because of the fact that we don't have a face cam, just for my own entertainment's sake. So, first things first, personality. The runner is Bucci. They say it a lot, but it's kind of hard for me. It's a Beuchi. She's got a good voice, a good attitude. She's the world record holder in this category, and she actually started the game as a 12-hour challenge, which I think heightens the runner's impressiveness. Because like playing a game, that you've been speedrunning forever and holding a world record, like that's one thing. But to pick it up on a 12-hour challenge and then to hold the world record, I think is something completely else. The commentator, Sancho Panda, he's got good knowledge of the game, which is good. He also has a good voice, which, is probably the most subjective thing I'm going to talk about, is like their voice quality on these no face cam videos. He's very supportive of the runner, which is always a plus, Because somebody who's like ragging on the runner, that's not exactly what I personally want to see. Sometimes it can be funny, like if it's Andy and Patty's on the couch. This is mainly for people who have seen SGDQ or AGDQ before and have been fans of it for a while. That's some of the best, GDQ moments. Stop, Chopper, I'm trying to do something. Chopper's just like eating this paper, and he's like, he's just so... Say hi, Chopper. Anywho, and the host was Sam Without a Plan. Now, she had a good voice, but my only issue, I got a couple issues with her though, so this is where it's going to deduct a little bit of points. She just read the donations without any sort of extra comment on them. So I personally like it when the host is like laughs along or makes a comment on what the donations say. And she didn't seem extremely super hyped. She seemed more, I don't know, low key, I guess, like low energy, which is fine. There's no problem with a host doing that. But for that reason alone, I'm gonna have to give the personality 3/4 of a star, which isn't too bad, Now for the tech, I'm gonna try to explain without ruining anything, because I want you to watch it, of course. So, as far as tech goes, there's basically one piece of movement tech that is actually very impressive. They explain it pretty well, all things considered. It takes them a while to explain it, but when they do, they explain it pretty well. And she pulls it off with pretty good consistency. And because of that, could you stop, Chopper? Keep trying to eat my paper. Stop. So yeah, just because it takes them a while to explain, they don't explain it right away, especially when it comes to the tech that they use for the skips, that you actually have to wait almost the entire video for them to even kind of explain what's going on, which is fine. But I'm going to give that 4/5 of a star. Now, the skips themselves, I'm going to, because they are very, very impressive to look at. They involve pretty much the one piece of movement tech, and once it's explained to you, it sounds very difficult since the movement tech's already difficult. I'm just going to give it a full star, just because of how impressive it is to look, how consistent she pulls it off. Yeah, and now that's not talking about like the littler skips. I'm talking about like the big skips here. There are some little skips where she suffers with, but we'll get into that in our next one, which is the run. So talking about the one she suffers with, it happens pretty early on, the big one, and it's pretty much just marathon luck. But she stays stuck trying to do this one skip, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, which isn't like the worst thing in the world. Like I said, they sound pretty difficult. It's a blind jump across a pit where you have to do that piece of movement tech I've talked about. So, all that considered, it's, it's understandable. It looks like a difficult game, honestly. But what I like about this moment, and why it's actually getting bonus points for it, is the commentator's very supportive of her as she begins to... She almost sounds like she's down on herself for a minute, but the commentator and the chat just come in and they're just like, no, you got this, and I love those kind of moments. Gotta switch my hand because my hand's getting tired. So right away in the run, there is this noise that repeats over and over again. It's not super bad or annoying, but it's a little bit annoying. And it also comes back at the end of the run, near the end. Like I said, not super duper bad. There's a slight issue with the audio where the commentator's voice echoes. So that echo is kind of distracting sometimes. Also, there's a delay on the commentator's side of the video, so he can't like commentate on what she's doing as we see it, you know, and as she sees it, obviously. So, but what he does is he just has her bring up what she's doing, and he has such a good knowledge of the game that he's able to comment on it right away. So that knowledge that I brought, that he had, did I mention a personality that he has dad humor as well? I think I forgot that part. But he's got some dad humor, and that's funny. I like dad humor. So, after that, all that stuff goes on. Like I said in the last couple of ones, the skips and the check go pretty well. It takes them a little while to describe the skips and the check, but eventually they do. Then, also in the run, what something I think is important is the randomness, which is okay. So he has to deal with a random AI, or the random NPC AI, which if you played Ico or know what it's about, you'll understand. There's also the enemy RNG, and then there's bird RNG, which, you know, with those three, it seems like a pretty random game, very random game, so that's a plus. Okay, it doesn't show any of the puzzles, which is a plus, because now you can pick up the game for a blind playthrough and just play on through it. Now, it is it's accessible to new viewers with experience of the game. So if you're a brand new viewer of speedruns, if you understand the game, it's accessible to you. However, because it has, I'd rather it be accessible or not accessible. That I probably went to the points for. But needing prior experience of the game, I'm going to deduct a little bit of points for that. Then, so it's not accessible to new runners, unless you're in the UK, or if you have a PAL system, a PAL TV, and a PAL PlayStation. However, there's a PlayStation 3 version that has less of the skips, that's accessible to everybody. They actually have a tutorial on YouTube for it, so if you watch it and you decide you want to try it, you can pick up the PlayStation 3 version. And it's a good video, good run to watch for somebody who's watched them all. I wouldn't say it's a must-see by any stretch of the means, but it's a good run, all things considered. The final boss is fairly impressive. It's kind of, it's a puzzle boss, so if you know the puzzle, it's not super bad. So just for lack of climax, I'm going to deduct a couple of points, a small amount of points again. And then they go for what's called the watermelon ending. And I guess any ending of the game, you have to sit through cutscenes and credits before you get there. Which, I mean, that's a low point of the run. And just because there's such a low point, I'm going to deduct a little bit more points. And then, yeah. So, but then a running joke that the whole thing, this watermelon ending, it pays off in a pretty good way, you know? So, all in all, I'm going to give the run 4/5 of a star. Now, as far as time goes, this will be the fastest to explain. They end exactly on estimate. They get time exactly on the estimate, and for that, I got to give them a full star. So after I did my math, what I've come to is they got 4 7/20 of a star. Okay, and here comes the next one. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at Shovel Knight, King of Cards, in 8%. So, first of all, there's the runner. It was David TKI, but they just kept calling him David, so I think his name's David. He was a good runner, honestly. He had the video on, and then in the background of the video there was 2 little girls. One we were told was a 4-year-old, I believe. I don't know if I wrote that down or not. No, I didn't. So yeah, I'm just gonna say 4. She might have been younger. But anyways, the little one was really cute in the background, and because he was a dad, he had some dad humor. Didn't talk too much, though, because it was a pretty involved run. And then for commenters, he had Muncha Koopas, who worked on the game, was also a runner of the game, and Moo Moo, who was also a runner of the game. So they were both very knowledgeable on the game. So the entire time, they're not really cracking jokes or anything, but they're explaining everything in a detail that's easy to understand because they both know the game so well. The host is the same as last one, same without a plan, and I still have the same problem with her as I did last time. She only reads the comments or the donations. She doesn't add anything to them, and she doesn't seem particularly very hyped. She just seems like she's just doing the bare minimum that she can do, and that kind of, not too into it. So we're going to give that 4 out of 5 stars. Oh, also, real quick, in my last review, I broke down the stars into like the 20ths or whatever, but from now on, stars can only be broken down into fifths, so it'll always be a fifth of something. So Aiko is super unique, is the only one with 7/20ths of a star forever. Okay, so now the tech. So the tech involved seemed a lot like there were all things inside of the game that anybody would have known about. However, it's in the mastery of those things that you get the run going. So I think there was like 4 different moves, I believe. It starts off with only 3, and then it goes up to 4. So, the fact that you have to master just the basic tech of the games, I think is very cool. So we're going to give that 1. And as far as skips, there was one skip that sounded pretty minuscule but impressive that he didn't wind up going for. There was one that was very impressive that he did go for, where he played the entire screen without being able to see himself. And then pretty much on every single other screen, there was little tiny skips, little, just skip this enemy or skip this room, or just so every little thing there's skips compared to what you would do in casually. So I'm also going to give that 1, because while there was no large ones, the fact that every single room had one based on mastery over the tech, I think is super cool. And for the run itself, it was very cool. It was a very good run. Man, I have some things written down here. Like the fact that the tech evolves was really cool. How fast-paced and how it just kept going was super cool. The RNG was, I always like RNG in a run, I think that it adds replayability to the run. So the first boss is completely RNG, and the first boss you fight twice. So technically the first and second boss are heavily RNG. And there's some enemies with RNG too, so plenty of RNG to go around. Let's see here. What else? That's all I wrote down about that. There were a couple of issues as far as it goes on the technical side. For one part, both of the commentators cut out for a whole about 2 levels and a boss fight, so you don't get as much information on that. And there's a part where you lose Mumu completely near the end. So, but those are both technical things, so I'm not actually going to deduct anything for them. I just wanted to bring it up for clarity's sake. And then let's talk about accessibility before I go on to the last boss. So I think it's accessible to new viewers. I really do. I think it's a good run to kind of get viewers into them, because it's fast-paced. There's no glitches or anything. It's just all gameplay that goes, and it's very, very flashy and cool looking. I think it's an accessible game for new runners to pick up. I actually, after watching it, want to give my hand at it. However, I don't have a PC or Shovel Knight to play it on. But one day, hopefully. Definitely made me want to play the game casually, that's for sure. So, I think that's really cool. And I think that this is one of those must-see runs for any sort of fan of speedrunning. Just for how flashy and impressive it all looks and is. And then for the last boss, it was really cool final boss too, because the first one, it was all like execution based. Like we got to tell where the boss was going, and like it was very execution based. And the second one was very like rhythm based. You had to keep a rhythm of the certain attacks going, so your attacks would chain. And then on the third phase of the boss, there's a glitch. So like, with those 3 things combined, it makes for the most perfect boss fight, in my opinion. And that's all there is as far as the run goes. So we're going to give that 1 star. And then for the time, the thing says, if you go into the YouTube video, it says he got a 31:36. But if you actually try to stop the timer exactly when he goes, and what Munchakoopa says is it's a 31:30, which is only a couple seconds off his world record. So that's very impressive. And the estimate was 40 minutes. So crushed the estimate, almost got world record. Very, very impressive stuff. So we're going to give it 4 and 4/5 of a star. Okay, and to the next run. Hey, and so for the last run we're going to look at in this video, we're going to talk about Dusk any percent out of bounds. So first of all, for the personalities, the runner was BGB, and I thought he was very good. You know, he was a good runner, and he was able to hold pretty casual sounding conversations while the things on the screen were going pretty crazy. It's a really fast run. The commentators, there was 2 developers who made the game. One of them, it was kind of like I forget what it's called. You know, there's like the straight man and the funny man. That was kind of their dynamic. There was a straight man, and there was one who was always trying to crack jokes. And then some nerdy noob was also commentating, and he was pretty knowledgeable in the game. However, he wasn't able to get much in edgewise because that one that's always making jokes really never stopped talking. The host was Cartridge Blower, and I liked him much more than the commenter for the last videos. He commented on the run, and he was given a short amount of time to read the comments, so we kind of sped read the donations. Okay, so we're going to give that just 1 point. And then for the tech, not much of it was super explained. There was strafe jumping, you know, at most runners should know what that is. Rocket jumping, no, strafe running. No, strafe jumping. Sorry. I wrote something down and I was like, I have dyslexia, so sometimes it's hard for me to read. Anyways, strafe jumping, rocket jumping, and then he used the crossbow to hover. So it was some pretty cool tech, all things considered. For the first part of it, though, you're never told about strafe jumping, not once, and you don't learn that he's using the crossbow to hover until like way further on in the run. So for that reason alone, I'm gonna have to give the tech 3/5 of a star. Now, as far as skips go, because he was out of bounds almost every other couple of seconds or so, he was out of bounds, skipping something. And he was going so incredibly fast, most of the game was skipped. So that one I'm just going to give a solid 1.2, 1 star. For the run itself, I mean, it was a very entertaining run. Like, it was good to watch. Lots of skips, impressive tech. One issue I had was the guy who I told you was always trying to be funny. I didn't find his humor to be very funny. I just didn't think he was. He was kind of more spazzy than actual funny. And like that spazzy, random funny just isn't my thing anymore, not since high school at least. So I'm going to deduct some points for that. And then, like I said, it took him a while to get any sort of explanation in. And there's even a chunk where, the commentators are just keep trying to sell you the game or sell you their next game or sell you on a con. And that detracted from the viewing experience as well. So I'm going to have to deduct some more points. And that's all I really have to comment on it. Not anything was really said about it. Which was too bad. It was a missed opportunity. However, there wasn't much ability to explain everything because of how fast it was. So having somebody that was making jokes was probably the right route to take. I just wish that he was more funny. But for that reason alone, I'm going to have to give it 3/4 of a star. The time... No, it's not time yet. Yeah, it is time. It's time. So, it was 18:18, right? Which, wasn't like the most impressive time. The estimate was 20, but it's cool. It's like 18:18, It's the same number twice. So for that reason alone, I'll have to give it a full star. And if I'm not mistaken, that brings the total up to 4 and 2/5 a star. I didn't write it down this time, but I think that's right. And if I'm wrong, please tell me in the comments. Like I said, it's the last video for today. I'm going to keep going with this, and if anybody seems to like it, I'll keep going. I might just go and do it all for myself, for my own purposes. Get every single AGDQ run, or GDQ run, given a rank, you know. So, yeah, please hit comments if you have any sort of suggestions or complaints, or you want to argue the validity of one run. I would love that. Hit that like button, because that'll help this video gain some sort of traction, which will make this more reasonable for me to spend a lot of time on. And subscribe, because this isn't the only content I'm going to be putting out there. And hopefully, you know, if I can get enough subscribers, I can afford to get editing software or an editor, so my videos are a lot better. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.